What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back. It's the Unfiltered Experience. It is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you're at your place for Unfiltered Conversations. I am Christopher Rausch, your No Excuses coach, and I'm super excited to be here with my brother in arms over here,
Scott Goyette. Very excited to be with you as well, Chris. It's a beautiful Friday evening, and I'm pumped. A little bit pumped.
I'm going to pump you up. Hey, speaking of that, have you seen the new Arnold documentary that's going on? I think it's on Netflix or something like that. It's like an 8-part series about his life.
I have not, actually. I'm excited.
Dude, it's worth your investment of time. I mean, I heard a portion of like his total story years ago because I really didn't care for him that much. I mean, he was all right and everything, but hearing his backstory and really hearing his dedication and his commitment to never giving up, you know, to come here to the United States, to become a bodybuilder, to become an actor, to become a leading actor, to become the governor. It's really, really an inspirational story about grit, determination, and kind of what we've been talking about in this series is, you know, who am I? And he's really clear with who he is and what he wants to do. Highly recommend it.
And I love the evolution of who am I in that too, because at first it's just get here, then it's bodybuilder, then the best bodybuilder, then he wants to be an actor, and then an actor turned to a politician, and then just be, you know, a good family person. I mean, it's amazing how we can evolve in that I am statement, you know, framework. And I think that's what the whole thing is all about. You know, I am now, I am present, I am aware. Man, those are some of the ones that I think are really going to kind of come to the surface as we listen to these 8 people that we're interviewing over the course of this season, because, man, there's some powerful stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're not present and you're not in the moment willing to grow, then what are you?
Yeah, right? I think you're either growing or dying. You know, I mean, when we kind of just boil things down to brass tacks, which is something I've been revisiting a lot lately, is sometimes we overcomplicate things. And, you know, just really thinking about that and getting, you know, clear about and intentional, I think, about really who it is that, again, thinking with the end in mind. Like, if I wake up every day and I know who it is that I want to be remembered for, then I know who it is that I need to become for that particular day. And I think that's something that's kind of cool is thinking about how we can grow and evolve every single day and discover more of who we are. And I'm finding, I just did a post in the Raw and Unscripted group talking about my perspective of time and just how crazy and how fast time is going by, which is just causing me even more to just really fully embrace these moments and enjoy this ride that I'm on and this journey that I get to discover who I am through these trials and challenges and successes of being, you know, the person that I want to be remembered for. So I think this series of conversations that we've been having from so many different diverse people and their backgrounds and their experiences really is just going to send the viewer into a whole new state of awareness, I believe. What do you think?
Man, I am with you. And I just, you know how, I mean, we talk about this all the time. First and foremost, my last post was, are you surviving or thriving? Which goes right on that. And that was, you know, we weren't talking, we're just putting the same kind of stuff. And to your point about the moments, Chris, I had one of those like really crappy situations turn beautiful today. I walked into the sauna, which is where I meet everybody and have my conversations, which I told you. And I walked in and I said, how are you guys doing? And I just started talking to people and I high-fived this one guy and I'm like, can I sit here? And I go, man, I'm so happy to be alive today. I go, that's my thing, man. You know, if I'm alive, I'm just happy. And then he goes like this, he goes, my brother passed away yesterday. And so I went from up here to hear it, and I'm like, and I just, you know, met his energy, and I know him. I always forget his name, but we say hi to each other. And I will say this, man, we had the most beautiful conversation for like 20 minutes. I almost melted and passed out. I think we forgot we were in a sauna, but we just talked about exactly that. We talked about how beautiful the moments are, and I asked him about, you know, the family and what they're going to do to celebrate his life. And I watched him go from, again, you know, he just lost his brother. He got a stroke, and it was the second stroke he had, because he had one and it just sudden, but you know, they thought it could happen again. But the most beautiful conversation about him asking questions about who he was. And I saw him talking through it. And it's one of those things that I think really makes us come to present is hearing that, seeing that. And I was glad to be there as part of his grieving and walking through. And I think we need to be there for each other. We need to be there celebrating our moments. We need to be here in the present moment. And that's what this show is all about right now. It's about that, you know, I am present, I am in the now. And everyone needs to watch these 8 because they come from a very different angle. And there's some happiness, there's some sadness, there's some you know, like excitement for what's tomorrow. But there's all the emotions that we feel in life are embedded into each of these interviews. And as they were unfolding, I know you felt what I felt. I was like, holy crap, like these are really, really, really good. And I'm very excited for everyone to see these, like real excited.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Scott, the power of the vulnerability in what these folks were sharing with us. I mean, and I say this publicly, it's one of my goals when I interview somebody is to get them to share something they maybe haven't shared before, or get them to get emotional, really try to get them in touch with their feelings of who the true essence of that person really is. Yeah. And I believe in every one of these conversations, each one of those individuals got to a point where like, they just knew we were just having this conversation to enlighten and brighten people's lives and to bring, the opportunity for them to shift their perspective about their situation, maybe save them some of the heartache they had. And time after time, that vulnerability, really, you could see that transfer into their strength and to realize that they had to go through that particular situation or experience to become the person that they are today. I just touched base with Earl. I think yesterday I was going to tell you about that. I just touched base on Messenger. I said, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? He's like, I'm doing good. I'm dealing with this pain. And I said, I totally feel you. I've been in chronic pain since 2006. And I said, I just got to thank you again, brother, for that conversation, because it has stuck with me, thinking about what he had said. Yeah. And we just encourage each and every one of you to make it a point to watch these. I mean, Scott and I are live right now. What we're going to do is we decided to do the whole show a little bit differently, really with the emphasis of you guys in mind, thinking about how can we provide you the most powerful conversations in a concise amount of time that where you could watch it, or listen to it while you're on the treadmill, you're at the gym, you're taking a walk, you're driving to work, whatever it might be. You can listen to it on the podcast, or if you like still watching our beautiful faces, you can watch it on the video cast. And really just said, okay, what can we do to really bring this value? And while we're always intentional with each and every show, bringing you this season, talking about who are we and saying, okay, let's ask these experts, and they're experts of being who they are. Let's ask these guys and bring this umbrella topic to you, and then bring all these different variations of who am I and that identity. Because one of the things I was thinking about, Scott, is, oftentimes we don't necessarily, like when I ask people, like, who are you? Like when they have to, let me think about that. But I thought about it in a different way. Who am I not? Mm-hmm. Maybe we didn't even really ask that question. So, I mean, maybe to get people started, if they're having trouble with thinking about, who am I, asking like, okay, who are you not? Okay, I'm not a thief. I'm not a traitor. I'm not, and then getting aligned with those values and say, okay, well, this is what I am then. What do you think about that? Because I don't think we talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, here's the thing. Any way that you can get from, a point of confusion to clarity is a good methodology. And so that's one more way to, walk down the street. What's up, Chad? What's going on, Marlene? It's good to see you guys.
Yes.
But again, yeah, I mean, any methodology that can get you to clarity is a good methodology. And I love using different modalities and tools to get you to that space. I mean, even like when we're doing the, our integration group, and we're talking some of the little things, the little tweaks, like the simple thing. So one thing we'll share with you guys that we're using personally. Let's say, for example, there's an I am statement that I'm not coming to grips with just yet. Let's say that I want more peace in my life. One of the things we've been talking about is, rather than saying I am peace and challenging the subconscious mind and having a battle, just introduce it to the concept of peace. So every time a car passes you and cuts you off, just say peace, 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 peace. Every time you're in a situation where you're about to get in an argument with your significant other and you're both triggered, peace, 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 peace. Now the subconscious mind can accept the idea of saying I am peace. So as we're doing these shows, as we're going through these things, take note of some of the the ideas. Maybe one of them is maybe explore what I'm not. Maybe if there's an I am statement that doesn't really resonate with you yet, but you want it to be a manifestation, maybe start saying just the word, peace or love or whatever it is. Just say it enough so that your subconscious mind is cool with it, and then become it. So yeah, I love the idea.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really was interesting out of the conversations was the idea about really, the first thing that has to come in any of these situations is the awareness. The awareness factor. And then the next part of it is the acceptance factor. But the thing I loved also about I think we asked most of the people, like talking about to get to where they were today or where they are today, what part empathy and forgiveness played in their journey, right? Because so many times we're not able to be who we are because we're so still involved with the perspectives and the beliefs and the truths that we brought with us our entire life, all of that baggage. And so what I loved about each of the guests is talking about, okay, how do you find empathy and forgiveness in these people? And a lot of it narrowed down to the fact, like, if we had been in their shoes, might we have been like them? And then the other trade-off, if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, the other trade-off was that they realized that those lessons, that person was there to bring them those lessons that they needed to learn in in that particular time, and that they're glad they learned those lessons because they never had to repeat them again. And I think that was beautiful as well, because if we can have that awareness, then we can have that acceptance. And then the next thing we can do is take that action. Then we're on our road. And that's one thing we really want to implore about you guys when you watch these episodes every single Friday night, same time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or you can catch it on the podcast. Make sure you go to iTunes or Spotify, is take notes. You know, you think about, like Scott said, we have 8 powerful guests. We might have 9, 8 powerful guests. You think if you write down just two walk away things that you can implement in your life to shift your perspective, or something you can start taking advantage of every single day, just think about where you can be in 12, 18 weeks. Like, think about that. You change a little bit every single day. You apply these differences into your life, and think about letting go of the baggage that you've been carrying around, and feel like, man, if I didn't have this animosity and anger towards my boss or towards my sibling or towards my parents, how much different would I feel? That was for me really healing, Scott. I mean, just to see that was the evolution, that process, that we all have to go through that shit in order to get to the other side of it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a very important thing too, is like when we're talking about forgiveness, one of the things that
Jacques.
What's up, Jack? Yeah, we have some people have a misconception of what forgiveness really needs to be, because forgiveness is the disconnection from the emotional attachment to a traumatic event or something somebody's done. So if I have anger or shame attached to an event, and every time something reminds me of the event through a trigger, that's what I'm trying to remove, is that emotional attachment. So that doesn't mean that I forgive a person for being a horrible person. That doesn't mean I said it's okay.
Right.
What it means is I'm no longer attached to the emotional commitment I've made. So I'm not going to stay in a space of shame. I'm not going to stay in a space of anger, because, I mean, Jacques, so want to understand this too. You can literally just fill your cup with anger to a point that you can't be present. And so whatever it is, if it's a sadness, anger, shame, guilt, regardless, you've got to cut ties with that so you can be present. That's a huge point of being a mindful person. So those questions that you were asking, Chris, as far as empathy, forgiveness, huge. The answers were beautiful and not exactly the same with each person. Mm-hmm. So they're all coming to probably the same answer from a different road. And maybe you can choose your path of how you forgive or how you empathize based on some of the things you're going to see through these 8 awesome interviews.
Yeah. And I think with that, I just want to show a couple of them. We'll show you guys like little 60-second excerpts, but here's our brother from, he's been on the show before as well, Ty Sweet. Here's some really incredible words that he shared. So here you go.
You have to break that cycle. When you break that cycle with love and seeing, hey, I can take my experience, I can take all that I've been through, and I can share that in a way that helps somebody else who's just now going through it, because I've already been there.
Yep.
And when you help someone else, then that begins to create that ripple effect, and they get through it. They're finding more love in life, and they're living life to the fullest. And then it creates an even bigger ripple effect because they help someone else, and then they help someone else. It starts in your family, it starts in you, then it goes to your family, then it goes throughout your community. And then that pain is being healed throughout your community, throughout your state, your city, throughout your country, then ultimately throughout the world.
Bam like spam. That's our boy Ty. What did you think of that little excerpt, Scott?
I have to remind everybody, if you're going to have one I am statement at all, have one that has to do with the powerful nature, the infinite nature of you. Because to say I am divine, I am infinite, I am powerful, anything that resonates with you really goes along the lines with that. Because when you do the inner work, the butterfly effect is quick. So once I'm strong and I'm leading by example, people see me. And I don't know if people realize the effect that they have on others. A lot of people will say, oh, like, how many people am I really touching? I'm just blank. And then they'll label their job and say, I'm a mom, I'm this, I'm that. And I don't think we realize how many people see us on a day-to-day, what we're presenting. And so Ty nailed it. We are super powerful beyond our understanding. And so be the best version of yourself, because the world needs you. And I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, again, when you think about it, I got somebody the other day with one of my posts, I can't remember what it was, they didn't reply publicly, but they sent me a private message. And I said, if you are going to like bitch about your life, then you have to take personal responsibility for where you're at and what you're doing. And one of those responsibilities is to come here and leave things a little bit better than the way you found them. And that starts with ourselves. And with that, what I loved about what Ty was saying is the fact that we get that opportunity to go help another person in our life. And this person actually took issue when I said, what in the fuck are you teaching your kids? Like if you're sitting there, you're in a shitty relationship, you're in a shitty marriage, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to stay together because I want them to show. And the kids already know it. I said, what are you sharing with them? You're leading a poor example of these poor kids. Your demonstrations, your actions should be setting an example for what your kids should be following. I said, if you're not, you're being a hypocrite because you're sitting there telling them, to do these things, but yet you're doing something different. And this person took exception with me. And I wound up through message, kind of reshaping their perspective. I said, you should take that personally. I mean, you have a responsibility. We all do. And hopefully, like Ty said, if we can go through these challenges and these battles, and more importantly, maybe go back and help our youth, become a big sister or a big brother, go mentor some at-risk kids who are dealing with this stuff, we can make this world a better place together from having gone through some shitty stuff.
That's an interesting one. The one with mentoring kids. Let's save that for another show, because I have a lot of stuff to say about that, because I've watched how that plays out. And so I've also seen that from Go Love. Yeah, I've seen it from Go Love Now, and I've seen it from my wife being in Big Brothers Big Sisters. There's something to be said about the amount of time a person is in their own home and getting one thing in their ear, and then a small amount of time. It's almost chaotic for them, because they're getting one voice saying you can and 9 voices saying you can't, or just, do this or do that, or like be on, the welfare system, whatever, versus do some work. I've watched so many people get frustrated with the system. To what Ty said, I think there's something more important is we've got to get people in different communities, in all communities, to be the light and be the example, because the best way out of a situation or any space where you're doing less than, you've got to have people who are leading by example. And for somebody to come in from outside the community and say, hey, follow me, it's a really hard thing to do. And I'm not denying these groups. I'm just telling you, you can go look at the numbers and see how they work out. So I would go with what Ty said, figure out how you can be the best version of yourself and demonstrate that and allow people to see that.
Yes. That no, 100%. 100%. I just want to make sure my wife is going to get my kid.
I could literally do a whole show about that discussion, because through Go Love Now and through other organizations, I've gotten very frustrated with the results. And what I realized is it's no different than the subconscious mind. If I'm battling the subconscious mind from one thing here in the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind is repeatedly saying you can't, and this says you can, people lose in general the support. That's what happens there, is one person saying you can do whatever you want, and then they go home and go, don't do your homework, let's just go out and party or whatever. If that's what they're getting at home, then there's very few kids that have the willpower to get out of that. And it's very frustrating.
True. No, that's something we could dedicate some conversation to, especially given what kids have been going through and are going through. It's sad to see and hear the fact that they just don't believe that the world's going to be around very much longer with the climate change, and the fact that, and somebody pointed it out to me, like when you think about, the kids now that are 18, 19, all the different things that they've grown up with seeing, with all the plagues and all this and and they've grown up with a lot of negativity. And so them finding prosperity and hope is pretty challenging. But one of the other clips that I wanted to share was our brother Jimmy Dennis. If you guys don't remember Jimmy Dennis, he was on our show much long time ago. He was on a few months ago again for the second time. Right. And he's the guy that was actually on death row for 25 years for a murder he did not commit. So he's back on the show talking about his life and talking about his I am statements and just where his perspective is. And I just think what he shares in this one is.
So what am I saying? I'm saying if you got any single solitary person in your life that's a naysayer, cut them off. Get rid of them. Stop talking to them. It doesn't have to be a knockdown, drag out argument. No. You need to distance yourself from negativity. You need to distance yourself from people who don't believe in you. Right?
Amen.
And it doesn't matter if you want to be an engineer, an architect, or you want to be the best secretary or the best carpenter or a chef or whatever it is you want to be, go after your dream. Because I'm telling you, you could do it. And when somebody tell you you can't do something, what you should do is laugh in their face and just keep moving.
Do it twice
ahead in a positive way.
Do it twice and take pictures of it. That's what I say.
Because I guarantee you, that same person ain't your friend.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dennis, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, what do you think of that little clip? He dropped a lot of bombs, but I love that one.
I like his intensity because you know he's doing it. You know, like I might sit here and speak more peacefully. He's like jumping through the screen when he's talking because he means it and he believes it. And honestly, that's the point. He believes in himself. He's conveying it, and he's selling that because it's real. So I think people need to listen to that intensity, because when you have a dream, you've got to go after it with that kind of intensity. It might not be coming out of your mouth. It might be the passion, the fire. But his point, you already have your subconscious mind and everybody before you saying, I don't know if you can. You don't need to have actual people in your life next to you questioning you. And I've heard this said before, and I used to disagree with it. Be careful when you share your vision with everybody in your dreams, because some people will try to squelch it.
Oh, yeah.
I was always like, nah. The more I think about it, the more I have to agree with that, because there's people, their intentionality is just to take you down or question you or say, I knew Chris was nothing. I knew Scott couldn't do that. And it's like, you know, if that's all that you're going to pour your energy into, this is why we need to be this much better, because there's still people out there who are so low. The only thing they can do is drag somebody else down with them to not feel alone versus boost somebody up. All I know is 24/7. And you know this, Chris, if you're around me and you're not excited, then you're missing something, because I'm always going to support you. I want you to kick ass in life to no avail. Even people aren't my friends, I don't care. Like if you're onto something, I want you to succeed. And I do get it, but I wish that people didn't try to hold people down, because I really want everyone to find their brilliance and share it with the world from the bottom of my heart.
And that's, you have an abundance mindset. I mean, that's one of the two different things we talk about, looking through the lens of love or fear. The same thing, abundance or scarcity. Am I looking at things as a scarce resource? Am I looking at money as like, oh, that's something that's hard to get? It's something that's always been hard to get. That's something that I've been working on. It's just energy. I'm just exchanging energy. It's not anything that has a particular weight to it. Sometimes we give that weight to it based on our experiences. Like I grew up without money and grew up poor and grew up homeless and all these different things. So money has a weird thing for me, but it's just energy. And that's the thing that I loved about these conversations is we strip down all the fluff and we strip down, you know, getting underneath. Who am I? Not what am I doing, but who am I being? Right? We're always doing, going. Who are you being?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, you know, keep my head above water. Okay. How can you expect your life to change if you're constantly dog paddling in the same spot? Right. And so I think from these conversations, we started digging into that and sitting there saying, okay, if we identify ourselves by a label, then we're limiting our true power for abundance. Because we're limited by that, instead of saying, I am love, I am abundance, right? And you talk about that so eloquently. I mean, when you talk about the rock and the rock water metaphor, I think that's a good visual for people to really see where it is that they're hanging on to things that don't serve them.
Yeah, and I'll share that again right now, because that's something that we're going to be talking about throughout the sessions. One thing I want everybody to figure out and really conceptualize: life is dynamic, life is water, life is fluid. So in essence, we are fluid, we are dynamic, we are water. The minute you get a grip on that and you stop grabbing onto what I call rocks, your whole life changes. So imagine this. You see life go in waves. There's times where, like, for a good 10 years, everything, and I'm not saying our individual, you know, stuff isn't always, is all perfect, but collectively, it seems like things are in flow. You'll see like 10 years, 15 years, everything is in flow. No different than a river. There's times where the river is just smooth and you're sitting in your kayak and you're talking to your buddy, and then the rapids come. We're in a very unique set of rapids right now. Think Niagara Falls, and you got a Walmart kayak. So you're going to be getting banged around on these rocks if you choose to stay in flow. Now, that's the way that you're going to actually evolve, because you are the river. So in the flow, in that flow, you need to stay in it. Too many of us are getting very nervous or wanting to grab onto the illusion of certainty or comfort, and we get onto a rock and we think we're safe. All that's doing is delaying the inevitable of being in the flow of the river.
True.
And so one of the things that I'm seeing is, you know, somebody will have an ideology, a political ideology. This is who I am, and that's all they are. Or a race, you know, I'm this race and that's all I am. So they're picking one component of what they perceive to be their identity, and they're sitting on the rock with that. So a certain gender issue, a certain belief pattern, religion, whatever it is, they're sitting there and they're arguing from that rock and saying, this is all that there is. You can sit there all day, every day for the rest of this physical existence, and life is going to pass you by.
Oh yeah.
And everything that you've dreamed of, everything you wanted, everything you really are is in that river, not on that rock. I promise you. And you're going to hear collectively from the people that we spoke to, you're going to hear that. You're going to hear the response to that metaphor and how they stay and flow and don't get in the rock. And I'm also going to ask you this too. If there's a minute where you're drowning and you needed to get on a rock, give yourself grace, get on the rock. I'm not telling you to drown. What I'm telling you is don't stay on the rock and create an ideology from that rock that's paramount. The river is reality. The rock is the illusion. The rock is the illusion of comfort. So get off it as quick as you can and be the river, be in the flow.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. I've been telling so many people lately, I've been reminded of the fact, just take imperfect action. Like when I think about, as I've been going through this book, the book I wrote about my life, and I think about what are some of the commonalities of what it is that got me to where I'm at. I just kept going. I just made the decision and I figured it out. I made the decision and I figured it out. I made the decision. And I think about now how much I hold myself back because everything has to be perfect. Oh, let me get this done. Let me get this done. Oh, then I'll do this. And it's like, before I would just put shit out and I'm like, okay, I learned my lesson. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. And that's what I love about the fact of these conversations is everybody just kept going. They stayed resilient. They stayed in the game and they kept trying to find a bigger reason, a bigger why for them to continue through those challenges to ultimately figure out who they are. And I think that, you and I are blessed with so many amazing people in our life who've helped us become who we are. We got some of them actually here right now. We got Rick Salinas in the house. What's up, Rick? He says, this sounds a little ignorant, but this is discussed a lot in the Latina community. He also goes on to say, I sound ignorant, not y'all. This is a good point. Thank you, Rick.
We're all ignorant a lot of the times, and then every once in a while we sound brilliant.
Yeah, we got Debbie in the house. She says, Christopher and Scott, good Friday evening. Thank you for being here. We got Robert Broker in the house. What's up, Robert? He says, getting good at that. Yeah, getting good at that. I mean, ultimately, we got Jock in the house. He says, if you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, become the fucking light. Damn. Go gray, baby. Well, we got Steve in the house. What's up, Steve? Thank you for joining us. This is, hey, brother, hope you are well. I am well. We are well. We are loving life. We got Jacqueline Rose in the house. Thank you, Jacqueline, for being here. I got our brother Chad Pape in the house. He says, what do you want to be? No, not what. Oh yeah. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And I think about having, mentors in our life and having heroes in our life and setting the benchmark. I know that for me, I didn't have any male influences in my life. So my heroes became rock stars. And one of my first hero was John Bon Jovi. And the reason why he was my hero is he just kept going and kept going and kept trying and new music and new hairstyles and new things. And then he started the John Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen Foundation to help feed the hungry and the homeless. And I was just like, man, this guy's got a heart and he's got a work ethic and he's got, he cares about his wife and he's married his childhood sweetheart. Who are those people in your life, Scott? When you think about this conversation of who am I and who you are today as a dad and as a husband and as a business owner and as a teacher, a professor and everything else, who are some of those people in your life now you look back on and that helped you become the man you are today?
So what's funny? At first, I did exactly what you did. I would pick one person and I'd kind of glue myself to them and be like, I want to be like that person. So it'd be an athlete who was 2 years older who I was like, I want to be that person. And then you'd learn something about them and you'd be like, I don't want to be like them. And I've talked about this too, when you have mentors or people that you want to become like. I want to suggestively sell this to everybody. You don't need to be like somebody in full because nobody's going to be up to your standards, because Chris's point of who do you want to be? Those are standards and principles that you need to live by. But you can learn so much from the principles this person has in a specific area of life. So I want to be like them athletically. I want to be like them spiritually. I love what they do, in their relationship and how they treat others or how they parent. And so the most recent ones, I want to be careful saying the names because mine are actually people. And so I don't want to share them because there's pros and cons and there's evolution of how I see them.
Gotcha.
But I will say this, there's been athletes, there's been CEOs, there's been people who are friends of mine that I love certain things and then I became disappointed. And those disappointments are okay because they taught me what you said, like what I want to be and what I don't want to be. So they actually showed me, hey, I like these points about them. I'm going to become that. And they taught me. And these things I do not want to become. So yeah. And I think we've got to look at people like that. Nobody's perfect. I love your John Bon Jovi one, like as a rock star, because look what he's done with his sports team, giving back to the community, being a loyal a husband and a dad, and he just seems like a cool dude. So I don't want to know any more about him. I just want to like him.
Yeah. Well, and he has a wine company called Hampton Water. Hampton Water. It's a thing he's got with his son Jake Bon Jovi.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
do something with your kid like in a business. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's just sad he can't sing anymore, but that's for another show.
He can't sing anymore?
No, his voice is all fuckered up. John Bon Jovi sounds terrible. Yeah,
dude, a couple years ago, he was here. All the girls in Austin went and loved him. He was incredible.
Go listen to his last tour. Go listen to his last tour. I could sing better than Bon Jovi. It's sad. It's sad. He's like hanging onto the microphone. He's like, "Oh, we're halfway there." Oh, it's like, what happened, dude? It's kind of sad. But
well, he had his run, and we love him for it. So it's cool.
Yeah. No, he's a great singer. And I think about let's share another one of those. Gizmos. Who do we want to share from? We got Stefan, we got Tunisia, we got Emilio and Rachel, we got John. We could do Earl again. Earl's powerful.
Yeah, why don't we throw Earl's in there real quick?
Cool.
We're talk about things that I have not experienced. So on November 12th of this past year, my only child, my daughter, died. And it was a surprise.
What?
And she simply expired. Her heart gave out and she died on the spot.
Wow.
And I will tell you that part of my I am statement used to be, because it is variant, because there is no one thing that you can I am. You must allow for the dynamic of change to come into your life. So in 1 minute, it can be that I am peaceful, I am tolerant, I am patient. But in that moment, I lost every perspective of my I am, because we often ground ourselves in our children.
Yeah.
And we foundation our I am, our identity on our children.
Man, that one gets me every friggin' time, dude. Every time.
Yeah, well, that was just as crazy as in the sauna today, where you come in with like a certain energy and it shifted like instantly, because Earl is one of the most brilliant I am developers that I've met. As a coach, he's so articulate and eloquent at getting you to a space of finding your I am statements. He's a master, and his mastery is he's bringing you past the subconscious mind to your infinite truth. So you talked to Earl 2 years ago. This is what Earl's saying to you. I am divine, I am creator, I am present, I am now, I'm universe, I'm love. And he's saying it with such authenticity that you can become that quickly. But I love the fact that he's hyper aware that we're in this dualistic existence and we have our spirituality, but we're, as humans, we suffer. And for him to come up with that, I'm devastated in the current moment, and that's where he is present, and then say, I am now, I am present. Man, that was very powerful. And I think some of the people who are going to be listening to this show, I'm sure some of them are grieving for something, because, we're all in places of loss. And so whatever you're grieving for, remember that and make sure you check out Earl's show, because again, this guy is somebody who 9 times out of 10, when you meet him, you feel very grounded and you connect with his spirituality and he elevates your spirituality. But in this present moment, he's in the grieving process that we all need to do, because if we don't grieve, then we get stuck with those emotions and we're stuck. So listen to what he's doing. Chris, again, connected with him earlier today, and I did the same thing. And I spoke to him, and he said it's hard and it's hurting him, but he's moving through it and he's getting back to that divine state. And again, I can only imagine what it's like to lose your only daughter. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's unconscionable. It's unconscionable. And he had such a great attitude about it. And I've got another friend of mine. He lost his son. His son barely turned 16 years old, got into an isolated accident on a windy road. And actually, Larry was on scene with his son as he passed. And I mean, really just went through a messed up situation. And now on the other side of it, he goes, Ben needed to be on the other side with me. So Ben's now my angel. Now he's writing a book. He's a total business guy. He's a Green Beret. The people wanted him to run for president. I mean, just an amazing dude. And he's like, so now I'm writing this book and people are going to think I'm crazy, but I feel like Ben is talking to me from the other side and he's guiding me. It just depends on what perspective we want to have and put on things. I mean, that's the way I look at life. I just came to the realization helping somebody the other day. And I said, what if that person had to go right then because you got everything that you needed from that person, and now they got to go help you on the other side, or they got to go help somebody else on the other side. Maybe this is all positive. Maybe they got you to where you needed to be, and if you're focused on that, you got that far, and you're going to take that legacy and carry that forward, then it's all not bad. And that's what I looked at when I've seen people pass away and people have been so upset. I'm like, what would that person want for you? And I know for me, when I came back from a funeral, I was so mad. I was mad at God. This 33-year-old beautiful woman, a mother of a 3-year-old, just drops dead. And I'm like, why? And I was so mad. And I thought, okay, if Tiffany were here right now, what would she want me to do? What would she want me to say? And so many times we go into self-destructive behaviors and we get mad. I'm like, she would want me to write a poem. She would want me to call people. And so I believe that when we can take these heartbreaks and channel them and find out some way to use that person's legacy, then their physical body may be dead, but their legacy and the core of their essence lives with us forever in the actions and the things that we do. Yeah. And I know you've lost people recently. I mean, don't you feel like you still carry on?
Max and Jeff.
Yeah, Max. I was like, what was it? I could see his face. Yeah.
Oh, of course. I mean, you know how I do this. I take the best in somebody, and we do this in the eulogy. I take the verbs, the adjectives, the descriptors of that person, and I accentuate those. So Max was somebody who, it didn't matter who was in the room, he would be as minimally judgmental as possible. If zero judgment is possible, that's where he'd be. And it just accept people. So when people came into a group and you're like, oh, do I belong here? Max just made you feel at home. And so I allow that to live on within me, because I see, wow, what a beautiful quality. I want to become that. So I want to make sure that when you're hanging out with me, you're like, man, I feel really safe. And we just said it, you're creating a safe space so that people can be vulnerable. I love that quality in him. He made really stupid jokes. So do I. He's probably laughing at me right now going, my jokes weren't stupid. Yes, they were. They were stupid. And so are mine. And that's what's funny about them. They're the dumber they are, the more you have to laugh, and you're not sure if you're laughing at the person in the joke, and it doesn't matter. Everybody gets to have a laugh. So take those things and bring them. And I think that's a big part of the game. And I think Earl's going to get that too. What can I do to take the most beautiful things of my daughter to carry on? And hopefully those who are grieving will find a way to do that. And the other thing we've got to realize too, the more you loved, there's an equal opposite amount of grieving. Yeah. And that's that is one of the interesting parts of this existence, because the more you pour into something, there has to be an equal opposite. Grief is just the amount of love, the flip side of the amount of love. So I still think you got to love as hard as you can. Yeah. And you feel that grief, and it's part of the process. And it might not be everything you want in this present moment, but deep down inside, it's worth loving hard.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, to your point, Scott, you got to let go of what's not serving you in order to have more space to take on what does. And I think that was another commonality of the different people talking about their identities, was the fact of that self-love component, right? And so many times we're beating ourselves up and we're saying nasty things to ourselves, and we're not treating ourselves very well with our nutrition and our hydration and everything else. But yet we have these expectations and these dreams and these desires to be happy and to have a great relationship and to be financially prosperous and everything. But we have these scarcity, and we have these negative beliefs beating ourselves up. The thing I loved about each one of the guests that talked about their identity was the importance of having to be able to let go of things that no longer serve their greatest interest, and get around those right people.
Everybody had a let go story. Yeah. And depending where they were in the phase, or the process, a beautiful story of moving forward too. Not just the letting go, but what's next. You're going to see people in different stages of loss. The more I'm thinking about it, it's this series, you have to watch all of them. And I would do what Chris is saying, take some notes, because they're not all flawlessly according to the stages, but there's different stages of release and acceptance of what's new and moving forward, and literally how to play the game of life with efficiency, effectiveness, and total presence. And that total presence part, you're going to see it in all the guests. Every single one of these people has a beautiful ability to come to the present moment, and you're going to feel when they're there, and you're going to see it, and you're going to respond to it. Because, Chris's point, get present, get aware. Once you're aware, then you can start doing the healing, the growth, truly understand who you are, find clarity, find purpose. It's all waiting for you. And if you're not 100% certain, which very few of us probably are, of your I am statements, keep listening and keep putting those down, and do what Earl was saying too, like have more than one, have your infinite ones, but also have some that are present moment. So let's say, for example, I say I'm a loving father and I am a committed husband. Those are very real and they're important to me. What if, something crazy, like I lost my family or whatever? I might go and I am devastated, but I still always have my truth of my spirituality, that I am divine, I am creator, I am universe, I am present. Those are there. And so putting together both sets of those, the fluid ones that are part of the river in this very dynamic existence, and then those ones that are more static, that it doesn't matter if I was, pre-conception or posthumous or in the midst of this existence, I'm still creator, divine, universe, and now. I'm still all of that. And those are ones that we can really come to understand ourselves when we're willing to say and buy into and fully embody. And it's not easy. It takes time. There's processes to get there.
Yeah. And it's like we talked about so many times, the compound principle. It's like you sit there and look at the enormity of something like, oh my God, that's going to take me forever. But how do you do it? You do it one step at a time. I was sitting there talking about, somebody can't believe that today's the 75th day of my 75 hard. And I've had people reaching out like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm like, it went by so fast. Cause I told people, I said, you could do it. It's going to go by faster than you think it is. And it's already day 75. And that's craziness, but that takes commitment. That takes dedication, but also that takes, the opportunity for us to have that self-love, to have that commitment to what it is that we're doing. And I think about through this time of this challenge, we were talking about like, who am I? And I said, I texted you that one day I was at Disneyland and I was like, I am peace. Yeah. Like I was on a tall ride and I was like, oh my God, I'm scared. I'm this. I'm like, no, I said yesterday, I am peace. And so I was like, took a deep breath and I always do this like visual, like I'm inhaling like something really positive. I'm inhaling peace and I'm exhaling anxiety. And I imagine this is like clear air. And then I imagine it's like diesel smoke when I say I'm releasing anxiety. And I just did that a couple of times. I'm like, no, Chris, you said you were peace the other day. And like to your point, Scott, it's not perfect. But when I sit there and stop and I'm having this, feeling of anxiety or fear or sadness, whatever, I'm like, no, I said I was peace. And I'm like, I am peace. Take 2 deep breaths, focus that on that. If I was a peaceful person, what would I do right now? I would let this go. And it's crazy how you do this, how you get progressively stronger and more aware to the point where it doesn't even happen. It doesn't even happen anymore.
100%. And there's no such thing as spiritual bypassing. Like doing this work is doing the work. There are ways to accentuate the work, breath work, like holotropic psychedelic breath work helps. More intense meditation helps. There's ways that we can move more quickly, but at the end of the day, we all have to do the work. And it starts with just that, I am peace, and then challenge it. If you say I am peace, what should the universe do? Check with you.
Bring you peace.
Yeah, but they got to check. I mean, it's got to check with you. So if I'm the universe and I say I am peace, I'm going to go, okay. And then I'm going to throw something non-peaceful in front of me and challenge me. And then once I pass the test, a couple times, then it says, let's move on. You pass that one. What's next in your idea of what you want to learn? And that's growth right there. So when you've recognized you want to be at peace, that's a lesson that you said, I'm taking this class in peace. And so of course you're going to get a non-peaceful opportunity that shows up. My favorite thing, and I've said this a million times, somebody says, dear God or universe, make me strong. Be careful what you wish for. Because guess what happened when I said, make me strong? I want to be stronger because I want to be a better coach. Oh, really? We're going to get you to flip a snowmobile. We're going to ruin some parts of your life. We're going to have a few people pass away. You strong yet? I'm like, shit, can't you just put a strong label on me? Like, give me a shirt, like a superhero cape?
Can't you make my biceps just bigger? Come on, man.
It doesn't work like that. The universe is going to flip you upside down and put you in the, spin cycle and then be like, you good? And I'm like, I'm strong. Are we good now? So get excited about the process because you will come out with what you want to be, but be cautious what you are trying to become because these are lessons, not spoon feedings. And that's the world we live in. So if you're ready for a lesson and ready for some beautiful growth and ready to sit in this beautiful fluid dynamic river and say, yeah, I can bounce off a rock or two because I know that beautiful smooth area is coming after that, then play the game because you're going to be rewarded tenfold from your growth. Or you can sit back and keep playing this game over and over and over again and never becoming what you truly could have become.
Yeah.
And the choice, I feel like, is obvious, but some of us don't want to lean into it. We want to be in the stagnant illusion of comfort and certainty on a rock. That's not where life is. It's in the river.
You can either blame or take responsibility. And either way, when you look at it, you know, if it's going to take 3 years to get on the other side of something, what's going to happen in 3 years? In 3 years, I will be 57. So I can either go through these 3 years and dedicate myself to this healing and still be 57, or I can get to 57 and go, wow, I'm still dealing with this shit. It's been 3 years. It's like, you just got to take that. You just got to take that imperfect action and just decide for yourself, when are you willing to tolerate? I mean, another way is, I hope somebody else think about it this way. I'm like, I asked this person, I said, when are you going to have had enough? When are you going to have had enough? He's like, what do you mean? And I said, you're going to get to a point. What in this situation would cause you to have had enough? You've been dealing with this. You've been dealing with it. So when is it? What would have to happen? And so I started talking to him. He's like, oh, okay. And I said, so you got to sit there and proactively think about that and start taking action now to avoid having that breaking point. Because either we're going to learn our lesson proactively or reactively. And so many times we have to have that hit the bottom or hit the rock bottom before we become aware. Like I said, that awareness, that acceptance, and that action, you know, we have to sit there and give ourselves that leverage to change. And so oftentimes, and I think that everybody that talked about the fact that they stopped running to their short-term gratifications and they started getting real and raw and present and truthful with where they were at with their lives and their futures, and realized they didn't want to continue on that path anymore, and were ready to release, you know, the people and the beliefs and the situations in their life that weren't conducive, again, to being that person that they want to be. We highly recommend you guys, you know, tune in, show up, take notes. You know, we're doing this for you and with you. We want to continue to grow with you guys. Scott, our first guest is going to be John Pablo. You want to talk a little bit about John, give him a little introduction, and then we'll leave people with to come back next week.
Absolutely. So John Pablo is an orthodontist, and his belief in being an orthodontist is he doesn't identify with the job. He identifies with that being a vehicle that he can help people have a smile they can stand behind and fall in love with themselves. So he's all in to Go Love Now and the whole concept of self-love. And when you hear his story of how he represents himself and how he came to find out how I am, it's beautiful. And there's parts that you're like, that doesn't feel good to me. How are you doing that? And there's Christ-like, Gandhi-like, you know, things that he's doing that you're like, I couldn't do that. And it's beautiful. And I would challenge you to listen and decide, maybe I could do that. Let's have some like acceptance for where he's at in the journey. Maybe he's in a different space and maybe you can get there. But some of what he does to me is mind blowing. And he's a great representative for all of us. So definitely check out John. One thing I want to add before we finish the show, Chris, because we had talked about this, we keep saying the same things. Are you ready? Have you come to the table? Do you want to find your purpose? One of the things that Chris and I had talked about is we understand coaching isn't cheap. You know, there's a premium for it. We have to earn a living doing what we do, and we do a great job at what we do. We're going to do an offer. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and you can say if you want to echo the same thing. But I'm going to give two, that's it. Two people, if you're interested in doing a monthly coaching program with me, it's $300 a month. We'll meet twice a month. We'll have a small group, a little chat that we can communicate. That is a lot less than I'm charging other people right now. I'm doing this as just a one-time thing that you can start. And it's going to be a great opportunity for you if you are thinking you need some support. You want to come up with an I am, group of I am statements. You want to come up with mission statement, vision statement. We can work on that and do that together, or simply look at some accountability partnering. So we can play with what that can look like for you. The people who do this with me currently do very well with it. It's a very simple way to jump into coaching. If you're just a little off balance, we can help you find clarity and balance. So that's my offer, $300. It's a good way to jump into some coaching, and I'll honor that for at least 3 months. We'll see where that goes, but that's my gift currently.
Well, thank you for putting me on the spot. I would love to do the same gift, Scott, because I love our people that are watching this. I won't publicize it. It'll be for people who watch the show. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got to give our gifts. And I think out of that situation, what we'll ask those people, since we're giving them a gift, is ask them to give a gift of whatever their gift is to help somebody else out.
100%.
And then we can just pay it forward and make it a win-win situation for everybody. I mean, because at the end of the day, our goal is to make this world a better place for who we are and what we do. That's what we do in our coaching. That's what we do in our speaking, in our lives as dads, everything in our, as husbands. Our whole goal is to make this world a better place. And what if we can help you guys become better in your own situations, to use your greatest gifts to go out there and make the world a better place. And then that person does it. And we kind of get away from all this anger and animosity and anxiety and finger pointing. And I just had a whole conversation with one of my friends yesterday about some of this stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, it's just, no matter what you say to these people, sometimes they just don't want to change. And we know you guys that watch this show want to change. You want to grow and evolve and have an amazing life that you deserve. So take special note to the offers that we have for you guys. And again, most importantly, be back here next Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can always go to unfilteredexperience.com, join the Facebook community. Let us know what you want more from us. Let us know what you're learning from these particular episodes. And then we're already going to start to work on season 2 for you guys. So we'll be bringing that to you after all of this. We got Patricia in the house. What's up, Patricia? Patty's my dear. She says hello. Just hopped on. Love you too. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate you. We got Jock Brocas in the house. He says, what up, peeps? What's up, Jock? He's going to be Dr. Jock pretty soon. Marlene, thank you so much for joining us tonight. She says, after 35 years, I have had enough. I can see my parachute opening up. Hell yeah, sister. Yes. We got Jeffrey Wolf in the house. What's up, Mr. Wolf? Goes, the world needs more great dads like you. Happy Father's Day.
We need good dads. I'm with you. I'm sold on that.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. You are awesome. I have known Jeff now for by freaking 10 years, dude. It's been like 10 years. I think it was 2013. And Marlene's just sitting there saying hi to Patty. So we love you guys. If you're just getting here, make sure you go back and watch the beginning of the show, and we're pouring our heart out into this. And again, it's a season all about who am I, what's my identity, and how we can let go of some of these limiting beliefs, start looking through the lens of love instead of the lens of fear, and really just having an amazing life and realizing the gifts. The gifts are really in these moments, the moments that we get to share with you guys, the moments we get to share with our families, the moments we get to have with ourselves. Keep life simple. Enjoy your life. Have lots of laughs, have lots of love, and make a difference, and just enjoy and appreciate, because it is very, very short. We love and appreciate you guys so much. We'll be back here next Friday, and you guys will be seeing us. Thank you, Patty. Appreciate that. And Scott, I love you. I appreciate you, brother.
I love you, and I love all of you. Have a beautiful rest of the weekend, and can't wait to see you on Friday for the official kickstart of this beautiful season.
Yes. Go love now.
Absolutely.
Go love somebody.